Imagine this. You're not dying, but you're anxious. So you go on your way to see a professional. You gave a tiny drop of blood, and they tell you, we can check you for 200 conditions. We can cure you right here in under 4 hours for way cheaper than normal. And you believe them. Why wouldn't you? The machine exists. The company is worth $9 billion. The founders on magazine covers. Walgreens put the device in their stores. Even the US military said they trusted it on the battlefield. Here's the problem. The machine didn't work. It never worked. And people made real medical decisions off of those fake results. This is the story of Elizabeth Holmes and the biggest lie Silicon Valley ever sold. In 2003, Elizabeth Holmes was 19 and born at Stanford. She had one idea that sounded insane, but perfect. Blood tests are slow, expensive, and they take too much blood. What if you could do it all from one finger pick? She dropped out, started Theranos therapy plus diagnosis, and then started raising money. Then more, then more. By 2014, Theranos was worth $9 billion on paper. Elizabeth herself was worth $4.5 billion. Overnight, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. She looked that part too. Black turtleneck, deep, deliberate voice, and a board that looked like a hall of power. Henry Kissinger, George Shultz, James Mattis. These weren't tech guys. They were symbols. People you borrow to make yourself look untouchable. Walgreens signed a deal to roll out Theranos machines in stores. Safeway poured in $350 million. The Pentagon was talking about using it in combat zones. The world believed, because honestly, who wouldn't? They were given every reason to. So what did Theranos actually claim? The machine? The Edison? The Edison could run over 200 tests from a single drop of blood. Faster, cheaper, more accurate than any lab. Here's what could actually do. About 12 tests reliably. For everything else, Theranos was quietly running your blood on regular Siemens machines. The same ones every other lab uses. The machines that need a full vial of blood, not a fingerprint. So they were changing you for revolutionary tech, but giving you standard lab results. And they weren't even telling you which machine your results came from. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part was the accuracy. Even on tests the Edisons could run, the results were all over the place. After Theranos collapsed, independent studies showed their numbers didn't match real labs, and they weren't talking small differences. I'm talking a result saying your potassium is dangerously high when it's normal, saying your cancer markers are spiking when they aren't, saying you're not pregnant, but you are. Real people, real doctors, making real decisions based on numbers that were just wrong. Between 2003 and 2015, Theranos raised approximately $945 million from investors. Among them, the Walton family, heirs to the Walmart fortune, invested $120 million. Rupert Murdoch invested $125 million. The DeVos family invested $100 million. The COX family invested $100 million also. These were not naive investors. These were some of the wealthiest family in America. All of them received the same pitch. All of them received no independent technical verification. All of them lost nearly everything they invested. But the investors had hundreds of millions more where that came from. The patients did not. CMS, the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services, investigated Theranos in 2015 and 2016. They found the lab posed immediate jeopardy to patients' health and safety. They found quality control failures across the board. They found that Theranos had reported inaccurate results to patients. The specific human cost is difficult to fully quantify. What is documented is this. Patients received incorrect results. Some sought unnecessary follow-up care. Some did not seek care they needed. At least one patient has stated in court proceedings that an incorrect Theranos result contributed to a medical crisis in their life. $9 billion valuation. Zero working technology. Real people. Real consequences. In October 2015, journalist John Carreyrou at the Wall Street Journal published his investigation. The story ran. The world read it. Theranos denied everything. Regulators moved. The CMS investigation concluded. Holmes was banned from operating labs for 2 years. Theranos voided 2 years of Edison test results. In June 2018, Elizabeth Holmes and former President Ramesh Balwani were indicted on federal wire fraud and conspiracy charges. In January 2022, after a 4-month trial, Elizabeth Holmes was convicted on 4 counts of criminal fraud. In November 2022, she was sentenced to 11 years and 3 months in federal prison. In May 2023, she reported to a minimum security prison in Bryan, Texas. In February 2024, her appeal to overturn the conviction was denied. Ramesh Balwani, her former partner and president of Theranos, was convicted on 12 counts. He received nearly 13 years. The investors recorded cents on the dollar. The patients received no financial compensation. The $9 billion valuation became zero. In the space of 3 years, and in January 2025, Holmes filed a request with the Department of Justice, asking for presidential pardon. That request is currently pending. Here's what the Theranos story actually is. It is not a story about one woman's ambition. Ambition is not a crime. It is a story about a system that rewards the appearance of disruption so heavily that I forgot to ask whether the disruption was real. The board members who lent their names asked no ethical questions. The investors who wrote 9-figure checks received no independent verification. The journalists who put her on magazine covers celebrated the story without testing the product. The regulators who should have caught this caught it in 10 years too late. Every layer of the system that was supposed to protect the patient protected the valuation instead. Elizabeth Holmes told people she was going to save lives. The only question nobody asked out loud until John Carrier asked it in print was a simple one. Can we see the data? Three words that ended a $9 billion company and should have been asked on day one, which tells you everything about what Silicon Valley actually was selling and everything about what the rest of us were buying.